Hey everybody, James here. While I was working on editing a video that compares and contrasts the first two Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, I wanted to include a section for the Harmony of Dissonance portion of the video that talks about various references that I found in the game and callbacks. However, as I looked more and more back over the footage and saw things that I recognized, I thought that it might be fun to break it out into a completely separate video because it was taking up more and more space. Now, in general, Castlevania is a series known for having continuity of enemies, bosses, and visual locations. I wanted to gloss over some of the more common things we're not going to be talking about, enemy types that are shared across series, or bosses that appear in multiple games, except for where I find them to be particularly similar. This will come up in a couple of cases. Mostly what I'm looking at in this video is musical or visual allusions that I came across, or things that you could consider Easter eggs or callbacks. Enjoy! Starting off at the very beginning, the music that plays on the title screen and the name entry section is in fact a reference to the music that they used for the file select screen for the Famicom disc version of the original Castlevania. This one is an interesting reference because it's not something that anyone outside of Japan would have gotten at the time. Game Over music from Harmony of Dissonance is a direct reference to the Game Over theme from both Castlevania Adventure and Castlevania II Belmont's Revenge on Game Boy. The Cave of Skulls is a location in particular that seems to be home to many of these references. The first of which is, as you progress through the level, you will come across two ramps that look suspiciously like a skull of a Crockamire, which is a sub-boss from Super Metroid. Further along in the Cave of Skeletons, you will also come across a broken statue of who I can only assume is Mary, surrounded by a staircase and bloody skeletons. This imagery is made a little bit more explicit in the B-side castle, where you can find the statue itself actually crying bloody tears that drop to the ground and form blood skeletons. Obviously, Bloody Tears is a reference to the often reoccurring music track in the Castlevania series, but this imagery, and specifically this stage, seems to me to be a callback to the stage from Castlevania Chronicles, which is itself a remake of the first Castlevania game. Also in the Cave of Skulls, you can find in a dead end with a heart max up the mask of Vampira, who would later be known as Carmilla, a reoccurring boss and character in the series lore. In the same place, in the castle B-side, you can find a broken statue of the third transformation of Dracula from Castlevania 3. In the Cave of Skeletons, you can also find, in a background scene in one of the levels, fossilized plaques of the enemies Slagra and Gabon, who are reoccurring bosses as well as enemies throughout the series. Also hidden in the backgrounds of one of the sections of the Cave of Souls is the skull of the three-eyed skull enemy from Dracula X. In the B-side castle section, you can find a skelefied version of Medusa wrapped around the same pillar. The teleporters that take you from the A-side to the B-side of the castle are a direct reference to the intro of the Doppleganger battle fight from Symphony of the Night. The Skull Knight boss fought in Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance is a direct reference to the Skeleton Knight boss from Castlevania 3, though his Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance counterpart has a much more expanded moveset and has 3 phases. He still holds the sword and shield and has the iconic look that he shares with his Castlevania 3 counterpart. Similarly, the Cyclops boss from Harmony of Dissonance is a direct reference, both visually and in moveset, to the Cyclops battle from Castlevania 3. One of the more interesting pieces of trivia I found on a website called CastlevaniaDungeon.net. In Harmony of Dissonance, there's an enemy called Simon Wraith, which is a whip-wielding skeleton who looks like Simon Belmont from the first Castlevania game. The Japanese name for this enemy, however, is Shimon, which is how you write Simon in Japanese. If you look at the kanji literally, it translates to Gates of Death. Interestingly enough, though, in the instruction manual for Castlevania 3, there is a picture of a whip-wielding skeleton whose name has literally been translated as Gates of Death. Another interesting translating tidbit, in the game you can find a couple of different items whose original Japanese title refer to previous games' main characters. These 2 items are Sypha's Crystal, which will increase your MP regeneration rate, and Soul of Christopher, which lets you shoot projectiles from your whip attacks if you are at full health. Oddly enough, though, in the English translation for Harmony of Dissonance, these 2 items' names are changed to Cypher's Charm and Bullet Soul, respectively, despite both Sypha and Christopher Belmont's names being intact for their English translations. The save points in Harmony of Dissonance are direct copies of the save points in Symphony of the Night, although much less animated. As well as the Hallway of Clocks being directly ripped from Symphony of the Night and recreated in Harmony of Dissonance. Finally, to wrap things up, the chamber where you fight Dracula as a final boss battle is a direct visual reference to the chamber where you fight Shaft, as well as the final Dracula battle in Symphony of the Night. Also, similarly to the way that you access the boss battle to Shaft by equipping 2 special accessories and going to a specific area in Symphony of the Night, Harmony of Dissonance also requires you to equip 2 specific accessories and go to a specific version of the final boss area to access the final ending. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing all these little pieces of trivia. I certainly had a fun time tracking them down and figuring out all the references. Look forward to the forthcoming video comparing Castlevania Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance. Hopefully that will come out soon, and I love you all, and I hope you're doing well.